And it's Zarrar Kahn. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm here with Zarrar Kahn, the writer and director of In Flames. I guess first I'll start off. This was selected as Pakistan's entry to the Best International Feature. Um, what's the process like getting a movie to that point? I'm sure there's voting or something needs to be done, but is there like submissions or because I've never had the opportunity to ask anyone about that before.
It's challenging. Um, it kind of starts with every country has their own committee. First, you share it with the country. So our committee was chaired by Mo Naqvi, who's an incredible filmmaker who currently has a series on Netflix. And that committee for Pakistan consists of like artists. So it really varies, and in Canada, it's a mixture of artists and government officials. And so it depends on what the shape of that committee looks like. So for us, it's largely independent artists who are the backbone of the Pakistan film industry, and they selected our film from a pool of a few different films that were vying for that spot. And then once we had that, we have like it's kind of like someone is holding a gun and sets off the race. And then in order to actually make the to qualify for the academy, they have like this huge list of rules that you have to do to actually qualify once your country has nominated you. One of those is a domestic theatrical tour, or now they've opened that just to a theatrical tour because there's now, films are sometimes being banned. So like once we got the news, we were like, oh, and then we had to theatrically release, and we wanted to theatrically release in Pakistan. So it was like immediately, going to the censor board, trying to get censor clearances, looking for a distributor in Pakistan, not finding one because the film is quite challenging for a more conservative audience. But, me and my producer, Anam and Boss, insisting that we're going to make sure this film gets seen in Pakistan. So we became distributors, and we released the film in two cities in seven different cinemas. And once we were able to tick that off, then the Academy has a whole bunch of other kind of regulations to qualify, and just making sure we're kind of like making our way through that checklist. So we're able to be in the Academy screening room, which is where voters go and review films. It's like this app that they have. I don't know if you know about this. It's like Netflix for Academy voters, where they can just watch every single film that's been nominated at like the click of a button on their phone. And so yeah, it was a crazy, and then I toured with the film to promote it with for your consideration screenings in LA and New York, and that was wild.
How do you determine whether this is a Pakistani film or a Canadian film, or just movies in general that are not just of one origin?
I mean, that's tricky, and it's becoming increasingly trickier as like films are even more so. Like our film was two countries producing it, but you have films that have like 11 countries attached, and that's often the norm. So with this, we felt like the film spoke to Pakistani culture and values, and so we wanted to be Pakistan's nominee. So we could have, because the film was largely financed out of Canada, submitted through Canada, but we felt like it made more sense for this film to come via Pakistan.
Given the the movie itself, the content within the movie, I feel like it buried the lead, but I was very curious about all that stuff. But with this, for instance, you'll do a movie or story about a bad cop, and someone's always quick to say not all cops. In the case of this one, we'll say the patriarchy is the antagonist, but just men in general are the antagonists. And a lot of times with stuff like that, you'll have people come and say, not all men. And usually those people are the ones you're most worried about. Like, what's kind of been your response to maybe people like that? Or have you not, have you been,
We've definitely had that feedback. I mean, it's part of making a film that's divisive. But I think with this film, I really wanted to more speak about like the structure and the way that the society operates, both through legislation, but also through violence. And when we have that conversation, I'm the first to ask, like, have you watched the film? Because in the film, we have characters who are good men who are as good as they can be within the society that they operate in. And I feel like everyone is a product of a place, and you're only going to be as good as what's expected of you in that society, and that's what this film speaks to. So that's been my response. I think critical engagement is good, and I knew when we were making this film it wasn't, it's a film that's going to stir the pot, and I don't mind poking the bear sometimes.
What's been your personal experience? Because people don't usually kind of pick this subject matter out of thin air.
I mean, I work in Pakistan for the last 10 years, and I met many incredible women who decided to work in the film industry, which globally is male dominated, and hearing their journeys into the industry, hearing about how they navigate and how what they have to navigate is so different from myself. It infuriated me. And what this film speaks to is, systematic oppression of an entire gender and how those systems of oppression operate on many different levels. And I think when you think about systems and how they oppress individuals, you can see kind of threads across different societies. And that's really what I hope global audiences take away from this. And so far they have. So I think that's been a really interesting journey for me to see this film play in like Busan or play at Red Sea and get very visceral responses.
First of all, I'm always interested in people's writing process to begin with. But when you're writing the screenplay for this and you go to shoot it, like what kind of changes, or even in earlier drafts, like how was that different than the final version?
I mean, I'm a deeply collaborative writer, and I tend to cast like at an early stage and find people who are not only playing significant roles, but I often view them as collaborators and get notes from them from the characters that they're going to be playing. And that was part of my process with this film, where I made a short film in 2018 that also had Bakhtaur Mazhar, who played the role of Fariha in the feature. She was the mom. And, she was giving me feedback on drafts, and that really informed the mother-daughter relationship and her character. I think, as a writer-director, what I think I can do is amplify people's journeys, amplify their stories, and frame it through, cinema, because cinema is like a way to walk in someone's shoes that you've never experienced before. It's a way to travel. During COVID, all I was doing was watching foreign films because I was tired of being trapped at home. So once we had that draft, which was our second draft, that was really close to the shooting script. I had an initial draft that was pretty bad between you and me, and I ended up doing a page one rewrite. And then once we had our second draft, that was basically our shooting script. And then I'll often like workshop dialogue more through table reads with the cast, then keep stripping it down and whittling it down to what's the truest version of it. And then when we're on set, there's not a ton of space for improvisation.
Yeah. I kind of want to hang out. You said the first draft was really bad, and I kind of want to have you speak on that a little bit more because I think a lot of people that aren't writers that would like to be writers are hung back because it's like I'm not that good. I don't think they understand that. No, you need to get that. You need to get the crap out early, and then you can fix it
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. I mean, you just need to, I think everyone starts off with like an intention and wanting to create something. And the hardest thing is to just sit down and put piece to paper and have a script, and once you have a script and you have all of your initial ideas out, like I call it like you're vomiting out all of these initial ideas. And once you have it on a paper, you can reflect on it. It's been the same process for me on my new film as well, where I had a script and then I did a page one rewrite again, and I had to throw that script away and start from scratch. But it allows me to really clarify what's working and what's not working in a way that if I never wrote that script, that initial bad script, I wouldn't know. So I think as a filmmaker, the best thing you can do is just do the work, you know?
Yeah. And so, at what point did this story have we'll say, the genre elements to it, or did it start off like that and then become the more social element to it?
They were both there from the start because, Pakistan's deeply religious, but also, as most religious societies are, superstitious. These characters, the way that they view the world is through the lens of the supernatural walking with them. So, and it's how they frame kind of both the joys as well as the horrors that they experience are from, a greater power. It just made sense to me to have it be deeply embedded within the journey that they're on. And simultaneously, I'm a sucker for what genre cinema does and what it's historically done, how it's always been a political space, and also what it's doing today with contemporary creators like Matty Diop, Julia Ducournau, Jordan Peele, how they're keeping cinema exciting by taking genre, which is often the most visceral experience you can have, and framing it through perspectives we haven't seen before.
Yeah. And mentioned earlier about the people that may look at this and be on the defensive, but have you had the other, I'm sure you have, but what are some other reactions to this on the more positive side? Like, oh my God, you nailed this, or oh, I've had this much trouble with stuff that's happened in this movie, and it's good seeing someone express that on screen.
I mean, it's not a movie where people walk on and they're like, "Oh my God,"
Well,
it definitely was more like I think the way I could describe it was we had a screening at Palm Springs, and I came out of the cinema after the Q&A, and there was a young woman who was just kind of sitting there crying, and she was waiting to talk to me, and she pulled me aside, and she's like, "This film really speaks to." A lot of the things that I've experienced, and I've never seen it conveyed so viscerally on screen. And, she was really grateful because the film at the end of the day is speaking to resistance, it's speaking to resilience, it's speaking to survival. And I think that's what's needed as the world continues to tilt.
yeah. Well, we have a what's in the box segment on the show, and we have in the box we have a bunch of movies in there, and each week we'll pull one out and watch for the following week. But we have people put movies into the box. These are movies that are either personal to you or a movie that's like really good and just no one ever talks about or for some reason is underseen. What's a movie you would like to put into the box?
Uh, I'm gonna say it's a film that's really close to me, as Happy as Lazaro. Um, yeah, by what's her name? One second.
Said
It's like a
happy as Lazaro.
Yeah, it is by Alice Rochewasher, who I'm probably butchering that name, but it's a modern fairy tale set in the Italian countryside, and it's magical, but also very, very real. And it's best experienced in a theater if you can. But if
Oh,
not, watch it any way you can.
yeah. We may be forced to watch it on streaming or physical or
Man,
whatever we
that's
can.
how I've been consuming movies predominantly, but I'm lucky now. I moved to Toronto recently, so I'm just surrounded by cinemas, and we have this great like points card, so I go to the cinema more often than not now. But yeah,
Did
when I was in Pakistan, I was just that was how I was watching movies on my laptop.
did they tend to play it would be a miracle if a movie I'm looking at on
Where
IMDb
are
now.
you?
Colorado Springs. They're not playing this in a theater near me anytime soon. So that's why I'm saying like that would be a miracle if that happened. But
Oh, okay, Monkey Man. Monkey Man is out soon. Go watch it.
all right. Oh no, I'm still gonna track down Happy Lazar. I'm saying
Okay.
to see that in the theater, I don't think
Yeah.
I'd be able to.
Yeah. I feel you.
Yeah, In Flames comes out in theaters in US and Canada April 12th, and I would definitely hope everyone would watch this. It's a very great movie, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks so much, man. Thanks for having me.